Welcome back, my fellow agents. It is I, your stop motion animated agent of awesome. And today, well, X7, also the host of Xenorama, the podcast of Heroes and Monsters. Today, we're going to look at one of my favorite stop motion fantasy films of all time. Many people call it a blatant ripoff of Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, but it's got some different stuff to it. I mean, it follows the movie pretty exactly, kind of plot wise. I say pretty exactly, but it's definitely weirder than the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad was a straight fantasy adventure movie. This is just weird. Yes, we are talking about Jack the Giant Killer. But before we get into that, please like, share, subscribe, vote in the poll if there is one, and if you're watching on YouTube, assuming YouTube allows it, please leave a comment and watch a little more. Watch more than a couple minutes, 2 or 3 or 4 minutes would be great. Really help the algorithm. So, having said that, let's get on to Jack the Giant Killer.
Beloved throughout the ages.
So, before we get going too far, I hope you've got your bowl of hummus of near perfection, or hummus of perfection if I made it, and your delivery method of choice. And we'll talk a little bit. Let's talk about the source of these pictures, most of them anyway. This first one, of course, was that's one of the posters. Probably I don't know. It's not a full poster, but it's a pretty nice one. It's pretty straightforward. This is from the inside of the Blu-ray. As you can see, the Blu-ray comes with the original version and also a commentary by the legendary film historian Tim Lucas. It also has the musical version, which I've yet to see or watch or hear. I just can't do it. I guess I've seen parts of it on YouTube. And then all the bonus features are the original theatrical trailer and subtitles. So now let's go on. Listen to a little more of this.
By all ages, such indeed is the glamorous legend of the ancient kingdom of Cornwall and of its greatest hero, Jack the Giant Killer.
Yeah, this isn't. They're not overhyping this at all. So, Jack the Giant Killer was released on June. Released to the States theatrically June 16th, 1962. LA got a 3-day earlier release on June 13th. Now, I didn't see this then because I wasn't around. But it did make the way. It was not a financial success, sadly. It should have been. It's a great movie. It got, unfortunately, compared to Some Voyage of Sinbad, which was released in 1958. There were some problems releasing it. I think if you listen to the commentary on the Blu-ray track commentary, it's wonderful. I rarely listen to commentaries. I'd much rather have just a featurette or something. But it does talk about the problems the movie had with being released. It made the round on the kiddie movies at least once because that's where I saw it in the 70s, and I was probably 7 or 8, and maybe 9, between 7 and 9, I would guess. The first time I saw it, it didn't get released to television for quite some time. But be that as it may, it's a pretty easy. The movie is Jack the Giant Killer, and if we listen to some more narration here from the trailer.
Hail to Sir Jack! To Jack the Giant Killer! Hail to Jack!
Starring Kerwin Matthews, star of the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad.
What a surprise.
And Judy Meredith. Those were the days when giants roamed the countryside.
So, the stop motion was done by Projects Unlimited, Gene Warren, Hua Chang, Tim Barr, these people everyone will know from The Land of the Lost as well, and many other movies. Jim Danforth was also in it, and he did a lot of the stop motion. There's lots of effects in here, cartoon animation, much of it, a lot of it, and it's effects animation. So I guess Lloyd, how's it going, Lloyd? Did it. So let me go back here. Phantascope was the name of the process. It doesn't mean anything, really. And there's the story. Nathan Duran was also the director. He directed Seven Voyages of Sinbad as well, plus several Ray Harryhausen movies and many other great science fiction and fantasy movies. Let's see. Edward Small produced it. Wanted to make some money off of it, and he should have made a lot of money. There's Nathan Duran. He directed The Brain from Planet Eris under the name Nathan Hertz, because apparently it hurt him. And here's the beginning there we're talking about.
It was at such a time that a young farmer, single-handed, fought and overcame one of the most fearsome giants who ever ravaged the land.
The giant cormorant, which we'll meet here in a moment. We do have a lot of pictures to get through, and because these are all frame grabs from the movie, except for that very first one and a couple toward the end. So there's Pendragon and the cormorant and the two-headed. All of this stuff comes in there into the movie. Galligantua there, the witches, and only one of them really gets a name, but none of the witches really talk. They squeal a lot, but these are all pretty much them. Herla only gets mentioned. We don't know who Herla was, except that they call them witches. I've never seen witches look like this. I would have gone with demons, but in medieval England and Cornwall, the Jack the Giant Killer. Let's look at that. Is a Cornish fairy tale and legend. It was written, the book. Let's see here. Let's get back. 1711. Jack Story didn't. That's when it first appeared in print. Fee Fi Fo Fum. I mean, it's been around for quite some time. These legends and stories, based on a text published circa 1760 by John Cotton and Joshua Eldoes, and then a chapbook, which is a chapter book with some pretty cool. Corman was in the book in the legends and killed in Vast Muchley. Let's slow down here. I know. And then, we'll just get on with that. Let me scroll back here from the disambiguation. Let's see. The movie runs 94 minutes, and we get this whole thing right at the beginning. And next thing we know, Princess Elaine has a birthday. Probably like 18, because that was middle age by then. And she's being crowned as a princess. I guess it's not her birthday. So Pendragon shows up as Prince Elidorus, and he brings her this gift, who lives in this little box and looks like a clown. Pendragon is played by the wonderful Torrin Thatcher, who was Sokura in Seven Voyages of Sinbad, and he's in many other things. Jason. Jack is played by Kerwin Matthews, of course, as the trailer said. And there's Corman, and there's the stop-motion doll of Elaine, who's Judy Meredith, who's a wonderful actress as well. Really great cast here. So there he goes. Let's listen to maybe a little more narration here while we go through these pictures.
After 3 years in the making, Hollywood brings you the amazing story of Jack's adventures and the fabulous dangers he encountered when he dared to set himself up against the Black Prince of all witches, Pendragon.
That's not Pendragon. That's his little worm helper Garma, who was played by Walter Burke. Did all sorts of these kind of. He was a man of smaller stature, so he did stature. Pardon me. So he did a lot of these kinds of roles. I'm just looking here and see if we can find anything. So he was in Support Your Local Sheriff and Local Gunfighter. The Three Stooges Go Around the World in a Daze. Beauty and the Beast, the 1962 version, which is pretty interesting. Saw that in the theater as well, which is more of a werewolf story. And there's Cormorant yelling, because he's always yelling. He's going to yell more. He's about to get off there. Jack was smart enough to blind him so he couldn't untie the rope around his neck. They hang him. The king shows up. Tell me that he doesn't look like he's straight out of an African swallow or a European swallow. That's all I keep thinking of is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It looks like they might have borrowed some of these costumes from. They all have different crests on them, but maybe from the Adventures of Robin Hood. I'm sure that they didn't. They had them just in there, and they make sure they've got blue and white. We don't care about the emblems. Emblems the kids won't notice, and normal kids wouldn't. The king here is played by Dayton Loomis as King Mark, and he's got a wonderful voice and actor. None of these people have any kind of English accent, so which I think smart because I didn't notice as a kid, and it's better to have them not have it than fake it. And there's Jack's mom who just brushes right past the king to make sure he's all right, but. Because he rescues Elaine, he gets knighted, and now he's her official protector.
Pendragon had carried off the princess, held her under a magic spell.
Well, not quite yet. So this is how they figure. This is a scroll, which reminds me of the book from. Well, just pick any ancient tome, but Curse of the Demon, Equinox, The Evil Dead, But it's a scroll. It's full of these, and here's Tubo. He's the only witch, the warlock of the water. Oh, and I guess Chira is the Wind Witch. That's the one that everyone says looks like Godzilla with her mouth open. We'll see her in a moment. And then Corman, they don't show the Galligantua. But there's Pendragon, and Gorma's whining to him. There's Tubo, there's Chira, and there's other witches here, or demons, whatever you want to call them. I myself fancy witches quite a bit, including scarlet ones. But be that as it may, so I don't use the term witch as a negative. But are you a good witch or a bad witch? Which is which? And here there's little Peter, and that's his soon-to-be dead dad. They're trying to get her to a nunnery where she'll be safe. She's not looking forward to that because she's in love with Jack already, and he's a good-looking guy.
He used his mighty powers to keep Jack from saving her.
And here they come. There's Tubo. That's just a great. I mean, I don't know how this actor saw through that, unless those are his actual eyes, but they're wobbly. But what a great costume. I mean, and this is the phanoscope where they use it. They've polarized or put a filter over it and then done some rotoscoping. As I'll tell you, as a kid, this is the terrifying sequence. This movie is quite scary for kids. Yeah, and there's the Godzilla. That's Chira, the Wind Witch. And she's definitely a she because there's other you can see later on. So they attack the boat and bring this spirit coffin or whatever, and more witches. You just can't even see this. It's horrifying. I'm glad I was 9 years old or so, but I bet I was creeping down in the seat trying to get away. And yeah, she's terrified. She does a great job. She's a really good actress. And more witches that don't get named. And now look at that castle.
See Jack's terrific ordeal with the Witches of the Wind.
We just saw that. There. So that's Pendragon's island in the ocean. Now, it couldn't have been too far away. They act like but it was probably hidden under some kind of cloaking spell, would be my guess. But look at that. I mean, looking with older eyes, you can see the matte painting and just, but it's just really well, the composition's really well done. Here's more. Elaine's been captured, and Pendragon's get ready to perform a ceremony with the help of Isis. I don't think he's really Isis because how would he know? Well, yeah, I guess he might have been to Egypt. You never know with Pendragon. He's 1,000 years old, at least. And there he is. And a bunch of gems and skulls. Very gothic looking, isn't it? There's Chira there. And Garma. Garma or Garna? Garna. Like it really matters, right? So, and look what he's done to Elaine. He says he's let her in herself out. But
his wondrous duel with the armored warriors of the Dragon's Teeth.
The Dragon Men, or Dragon Knights, actually, is what Pendragon calls them. We'll see them in a moment, but he's changing Elaine into a witch herself. And she's wearing red. and she's got red hair. I bet those contacts were not pleasant for her to wear. I mean, she didn't have them in long. I don't think they probably shot all this at once because so she wouldn't have to, and they wouldn't have to keep redoing the makeup. But it's quite a costume and quite a look there. And I had a bunch more pictures until I realized if I kept using them, someone's going to think I'm obsessed with this certain kind of look, or perhaps a certain kind of witch. But I mean, this is the mirror, and there's Pendragon, and she is much greener in the reflection of the mirror than she is here. Now, this print on the Blu-ray is amazing. I think I had the DVD as well, which was good, but I mean, you can see the grain in here all over. Garma's looking a little, well, he's still looking in two directions, isn't he? But the print is amazing. I highly recommend. Kino Lorber does some great work. I've got several of their discs. I'd probably have several more if I had, if I was a millionaire. But they're just wonderful. There he is. Now he's going back to England or Cornwall, because England was probably still a bunch of mini states at that point in time. Oh.
His encounter with the monstrous two-headed giant.
Let's just stop right there. We might have to go back a bit. And there's this. That's Lady Constance. She was played by Anna Lee. It was She was British, but nobody knew. I mean, there were some clues to tell you that she was been possessed, because essentially this is what it's. They're really demons. Because when he turns them, somehow she'd been possessed earlier in the movie, or before the movie started. She made lots and lots of movies. None I've ever. He did King Solomon's Mines, the 37 version, which is quite good. Let's see, Fort Apache. Yeah, she started with John Wayne in Flying Tigers. So just very Lila Quartermain on General Hospital in Port Charles. How about that? Well, anyway, so she gets saved, and this is how you save the witch or get her unpossessed, by showing her in a mirror and cracking it. And she's very apologetic, and they don't blame her. They're just like, you weren't responsible. So it seems to me like they're conjuring up demons to take over these people's bodies. So that's why I think, I'm thinking demons. They don't say it, but oh geez, we got to get going here. All right. So there's Sigurd, the Viking, who finds Peter after the crew mutinies because they don't want to go after the witches. So who knows what happened to them at the end of the movie, because I'm sure the king wasn't thrilled with that. And there's the Imp of the Bottle. So our cast is now complete. The Imp of the Viking was played by Barry Kelly. The Imp of the Bottle is, where did he go? Don Beto, and he's affecting an Irish accent and does it very well. Peter is Roger Mobley, and his dad, I think, is Robert Gist. So, and the Chancellor, we're not going to see a picture of him, is Tudor Owen. So once more, a picture of here, the castle in daylight, and they get there. The imp gives him 3 wishes with the promise that he'll free him, kind of like Barati and some Voyage of Sinbad will help him. They don't have to say from the land beyond. But come on, let's click. And so the magic, that's the magic. Here are the Dragon Knights, or they call them the Dragon Men, the Men of the Dragon's Teeth. And he whips them and they disintegrate. Poof! The skeleton wants his arm back and points him ahead. And Pendragon threatens to turn Jack into a black ram, but his sword is his protection. That's the sword from the Viking. So one would think the Viking, he looks like Thor, doesn't he? Nice animated effects. I love animated rays. Always have. There she is again. And Elaine herself is a ginger. You see it in the sunlight. I did not embiggen that on purpose. Holy crap. But I'm not going to complain. But he frees her. So off they go. And there we go. We run right into Galligantua, who's not named in the movie.
See the enchanted doll that came to life.
We've seen that.
And
That's
made a
Cormorant.
princess dance with joy. Sail with Jack the Giant Killer. share his thrilling adventures on the high seas.
So that music, by the way, as we saw, is done by Paul Sotwell and Bert Schefter. It's very good. I mean, it's definitely not, um, you know, drawing a blanket. Oops, drawing a blanket. The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, Bernard Herrmann. There we go. Which of course is iconic. But here we go. He's begging for help with Galligantua, and lo and behold, we get my favorite American slash British slash Western movie monster of all time, the Kraken. The first animated actually it's just a crake, because as we know, Kraken is plural and crake is singular if you go back to Sweden or Norway. This model is huge. I'll tell you what.
Meet his young friend Peter,
Oh, we don't care
Sigurd the
that much.
Viking,
There we go.
and the lovable imp of the bottle.
A little toy man.
It's such an leprechaun. A toy, you say? Oh, for that there'll be the devil to pay.
So I love this fight. It's really, I mean, yes, these creatures are not Harryhausen level of sculpting, and they just don't look quite as good. But I think for this movie, since it's a fantasy and it's based on myths, fables, they give it a real surreal quality. Now it's mostly the faces. I mean, Galligantua and Cormorant look pretty good, but the Kraken here, or the Crake, and the dragon or gargoyle coming up do look a little. I mean, he's cute. There's just no way around it. But there's a great composite. There's our leads there after the fight. I thought that Galligantua was going to win. I was really bummed.
See his face-to-face clash with Pendragon himself.
Okay, we're going to wait. There's a great shot of Galligantua, little chest hair there, but it's just the sculpt just isn't quite there. But again, it's surrealistic, it's fantasy, it's phantasmagoric, and it works. And there he comes back. He's been clocked with a anchor, and we think, oh no, he's dead. And Galligantua did too. Fortunately, Peter, who'd been turned into a monkey, Sigurd was turned into a dog, says, no, I'll help, and throws rocks and distracts old Galligantua there. Both of them. Neither head is very smart. And lo and behold, I want to call him Tentaclaw, or I'd call him Tentaclon, but that's kind of been taken, sort of. But something like that. The Crake wakes up, rears back, woo, 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 stooge slap, whack, whack. It's rare you get to hit two people one time with one slap like that on one body. But he makes short work of the Kraken, or the Kraken makes short work of Galligantua there. And I like to think that he just pulled him into the water and ate him, because he needed something after expending all that energy. I just love this critter. All right, now they're getting away, and this is where the climax happens. Pendragon turns himself. Look at that. Again, he's pretty cute.
Don't miss Jack's gigantic battle with the Flying Harpy. You'll agree, Jack the Giant Killer is the greatest.
I would say so. There he's diving. I give him a 9.8 for total. The gargoyle gets, a 3. Then he blows up. He blows up big time, and his magic, of course, he's the only one holding the castle, and the witches are probably keeping them in their human form. And kaboom! It blows up real good. There's our heroes looking for Jack as he skydive. That's the end of the castle. And there they are. He frees the imp of the bottle, and lo and behold, there's a rainbow. He's going back to Ireland, and our heroes are going back to Cornwall. So, and then we get to the end of the movie. Of course, they're in love, and that's the end, released through United Artists. So, movie's 94 minutes. I've meandered here and there. I really enjoy it. It's got a great. It's been reevaluated recently. Some people still poo-poo those monsters, but I think the cast is actually better. I think the script is better. I don't know that it's a better movie than Seventh Voyage. I like it more, mostly due to Tentaclor. But so I saw this movie. Oh wait, there's the cast of characters. Everybody but Jack's mom. Here's the comic book that Dell released, and then fine. Let's see. This is from Movie Monsters #3, the Atlas Seaboard production, and here was what they designed the sea monster to look like originally, which I'm glad they changed because this is just a real copy of the dragon out of Seven Voyages Sinbad. So at least they avoided some of that. So I could never figure out why. Before this is before I realized pre-production didn't always go through. So let's get back here because it's a lovely little cover. And Dell would just license anything, wouldn't they? But the movie's Tim Lucas on the commentary just loves this movie. You can tell he's just really thrilled by it. Kerwin Matthews is a better actor than he was. Again, he's had some more experience. Judy Meredith is really good, and she really gets into the being evil part. Right? So that didn't happen to Princess Parissa, now did it? So that was something. Again, this movie is one of the weirdest children's fantasy movies. I would rank it well above. It's above the Magic Sword that Bert I. Gordon did, and we will review that at some point because that one's just as warped as this one. Probably that one's a little more warped. It's got vampire in it. So, agents, until our next assignment, we're going to wrap it up. And until our next adventure or assignment, this is X7 signing off.